Welcome back from that segment, still Daybreak Africa, and this morning we shall be talking on environmental degradation, a focus on Nigeria's waste management culture and its solution. With us in the house this morning is Dr. Babayemi Joshua Olajiire. He's a bioscientist and environmentalist. Dr. Joshua Babayemi is an associate professor in environmental management and toxicology, Department of Biosciences and Biotechnology, University of Medical Sciences here in Ondo State. He is an expert in solid waste assessment and management, plastic waste challenges in Africa, inventories and action plans for plastics, material and substance flow analysis of solid waste, as well as persistent organic pollutants. Welcome on the show.
It's so nice to have you on Daybreak Africa today.
Thank you, madam.
Yes. So that's a lot for one person. Before the show started, Ezekiel, I'm sure after reading your resume, was wondering how one person can amass all of that.
I thought about that while reading it, not even after, while reading it.
So, yes, it is important for our viewers to know that we have a professional in the house to help us actually understand this two-faced question that is environmental degradation and, of course, waste management. Now, to begin, while I was doing my research, environmental degradation is a deterioration of the environment through depletion of resources such as quality of air, water, and soil, the destruction of ecosystems, habitat destruction, the extinction of wildlife, and of course pollution. That is environmental degradation, and that also has it can be caused two ways, which is via human and of course natural causes. So I would want our guests to help us understand further the gravity of environmental degradation, which we've come to realize is a global problem.
Thank you, madam. On top of environmental degradation, you have mentioned the scope, which covered the decrease in the quality of the air, decrease in the quality of the water, decrease in the quality of the soil, to affect the ecosystem, the relationship between the physical environment and the living organisms. It also affects the wildlife. On top of the decrease in the quality of air, nowadays there is increase in some pulmonary ailments, that is ailment that has to do with maybe the inhalation. So because of decrease in the quality of the air. Not only that, sometimes if you just leave your screen, especially outside, and then after 10 minutes just do like this, you'll be wondering, how come I didn't see anything in the air? So how come you can see some dust on your phone? So that is an indicator that there is decrease in the quality of the air. Sometimes you're in a particular environment, immediately you begin to perceive some strange smell. You wonder, before you know it, maybe somebody wants to cough, and then you look around, what is it? Before you know it, maybe somebody is burning something somewhere, maybe burning plastics, and then from there, somebody can just develop a particular illness. That is for the decrease in the air quality. Not only that, especially if you look at this year, at a particular period, as if you have never experienced it before, particular months, people can, it will seem as if they should remove their dress because the heat is so much. You are wondering, how come? What has caused this one this year? That is an indication that there is decrease in the quality of the air, because there are some gases in the air that can when heat normally escape from the earth into the atmosphere. But if there is a layer, something absorbing the heat, not allowing to escape, then everywhere becomes so hot. You are wondering, so what's causing the heat? So because there is decrease in the quality of the air, some pollutants have been, they are already in the air that trap heat. And because of that, so you have increase, we normally call that, there is a technical term, call it global warming. Not only that, sometimes you wonder, before, even farmers can predict when to plant. Or when you plant in January, or when you plant maybe around April, May, they expect rain for a particular period of maybe 2 months, and then they have an you can predict. But nowadays, you can predict when rain falls again. You can predict. So there are so many natural occurrences that it seem as if they are not following the normal trend because there is decrease. All of them arise from decrease in the quality of the air. But that's when you call it climate change, because before that, this particular period of time between this month and that month, this is what the temperature, the ambient temperature, will look like. But nowadays, when you take the temperature, you wonder whether it has gone up, it has come down. Sometimes rain that will normally fall maybe between May and June, and then everywhere is okay. A particular rain just fall, before you know it, roofs are blown off, there is runoff everywhere, and then before you hear it, they are telling you the casualties, 10 people were affected here, some people die here as a result of climate change. That is the gravity of the environmental degradation. That is for the air. Then we now come to the soil itself. We're talking of soil degradation. Normally, if you look at the farmers now, recently I just came to this Ondo. When you plant, so I like farming. So when you see the color of soil, when you see black, that is those who practice farming, they will know this has a trace of loamy soil. They expect when they plant, there will be good agricultural yield. But they wonder, but so many farmers have been complaining around that when they plant tomato, it's just withering and then it just die off. When they plant this, is not yielding because there is depletion in the quality of the soil itself. So they wonder, where else can we plant this? Where else can we plant that it will that will give them the expected yield, because there is decrease in the quality of the soil. Not only that, when you talk of degradation of the soil, when you're talking of erosion, so you get to some places, you wonder. So it may be some years ago, the place is just plain. Now you get there, but human being may even hardly been able to pass in such place, because you now have some gullies, so we have some places already carved out by erosion. That is a degradation of the soil.
So, Doctor, you really have mentioned a lot, but at this point, I would like to ask, say, facing the planet, or maybe not the planet, Nigeria, let's talk about Nigeria at this point. What are the most pressing environmental issues facing Nigeria? Because you did mention climate change, you did mention soil degradation, you did mention a lot, but let's bring it back to Nigeria. What do you think are the most pressing issues?
The most pressing environmental issues already mentioned. You are talking of environmental degradation itself, and we have mentioned the scope, and then especially the consequences of that. Now you're not talking of climate change, because some of this will result in climate change, although that expands beyond only Nigeria. Not only that, you're talking of pollution is another serious environmental problem we have in Nigeria that has not been tackled, and then the waste management is another serious environmental problem or challenge that we have. But that of waste management is so broad that the result of that touches all the other areas we are
getting there in a moment, but let's talk about climate change. That thing piqued my interest. What are the consequences of climate change in our ecosystem in Nigeria? Because I don't think men really understand the term climate change. The last time there was a trip for climate change and all that, Nigerians really came out in their numbers and were really bashing the presidency and the number of persons that went for that meeting. So I then wonder, how best would you enlighten us on climate change? How does it affect us as Nigerians, our ecosystem, the consequences, and things about that nature?
Thank you. So when we talk of climate change, I mentioned some of the consequences, some of the effects. Global warming is one of the effects you can see. So just as I've said that this year, almost call somebody from Ibadan all over, they will tell you, in fact, I couldn't even wear anything. Everywhere is so hot. It's one of the consequences of climate change, that there is increase in the global temperature. Not only that, in some places now it's very common announced that the meteorologists are already predicting that Wednesday, today and tomorrow, in some parts of the country, they're expecting the flood, they're expecting this. Some of these occurrences some years back were not so, when the effects of climate change was not that well pronounced. But nowadays, because we have a pronounced effect of climate change, you now have overflooding, then you have the rise in the ocean level. But some areas were we watch some of the documentaries, some buildings are totally submerged, and then people are counting the losses. These are some of the effects of the climate change we are talking about. Not only that, as I've said, it is even affecting the agricultural production in Nigeria. So I practiced agriculture for some years back, and as I said, you can adequately predict that I can plant this particular crop between this period of time, and you expect when to reap them, and then without any problem. But nowadays, you can plant, the moment you plant, the next moment there may be no rain. That is one of the indicators of climate change. And when there will be rain, some crops, there is certain amount, they require certain quantity of water. If it is less, they won't yield well, and if it is small, they won't yield well. Now, if you plant and then there is a very heavy downpour, when you get to the farm, you just see that those crops, naturally, they just die. These are some of the consequences of the climate change we are talking about. Not only that it affects plants, it affects even animals. Some species of when there is a heavy downpour like that, definitely some animals will be affected, some insects will be affected, so some organisms will be affected. This is some of the degree of the effects of climate change you can observe in Nigeria. And when we are talking of maybe food scarcity now, if you talk to the farmers, they will tell you that, no, we don't know what happens to our crop. Now, especially this, some years now, you can see some pests affecting crops, which were not so before, because the climate may encourage the breeding of those pests. That's another dimension to it.
Now, you've talked about air, you've talked about water, you've talked about air, soil, but you've not talked about habitat destruction and the extinction of wildlife, and you talked about pollution. So I just want to clear air, water. No, you've not talked about water. You talked about air
and soil.
You've talked about soil. We've talked about climate change. You've not told us, you said a little bit about pollution, but you've not told us about water and, of course, the destruction of ecosystem. I would want you to let us into all of this, how environmental degradation affects these particular areas.
Thank you. So looking at the wildlife, so definitely when we talk of the wildlife, you're talking of maybe the animals, different forms, relationship with the plants, the biodiversity in particular. When you talk of environmental degradation, another dimension, the cause of environmental degradation is deforestation. You have a particular piece of land, a particular area, you have trees, you have bush, and the whole place is green. And then somebody wants to establish industry, you want to build a house, then you just destroy that is deforestation, and there is no any deliberate effort to replant any trees when the place is settled. Definitely when you are clearing bush, indirectly, whatever all types of animals, whether it's birds, all of them, at such a time, you have displaced them from their natural habitat. And wherever they are going, they may even meet their death, and then by and by, so it could lead to extinction. So that is one form of degradation, deforestation. So can result to the loss of biodiversities. Some plant species, you lose them. Some animal species, you lose them. Then coming to the water, the degradation, I'm talking of the water quality. Well, anyway, it could be natural, and then that is man-made. So, but the man-made is more than that of natural. Look at our peculiar environment, especially Nigerian environment in some remote areas, even some cities. People are just waiting for opportunity for rain to fall. The moment there is rainfall, they look for the nearby drainage, gutters and drainage, and then quickly bring in their waste, and then they dump. They think it's out of sight. It is out of sight, but the consequence is coming back to the same place. Because this now we go to the nearby water bodies, and when you throw waste into the waters, the water is already polluted, already affecting the aquatic life in that environment. Before you know it, some fish, so because they require certain amounts of oxygen, they require a particular temperature, and then some intensity of light to thrive and to live. The moment you throw waste into the water bodies, one, you're affecting the intensity of light in that water bodies, and then the level of oxygen will decrease anyway, because there will be increase in organic activity because of the waste thrown into the place. Is affecting the life of the fish. Before you know it, so some species of fish, so by and by, you don't see them anymore. Sometimes you even see some fish, they float on the waters because they are dead as a result of waste being thrown into the water bodies. Not only that, some industries, normally when they want to release the effluent, it is expected that those effluents should be treated, and then to the level that it will not be toxic to the aquatic organisms. But maybe because of the economy and some other challenges, waste are just released directly into the waters, and then that contaminates or pollutes the water bodies. That is the degradation of water.
Let's talk a little about the effects of deforestation and biodiversity. I would like to pick your brains on that one.
Now, the effects of deforestation and biodiversity, let's take them one by one, because the biodiversity, then the deforestation.
Okay.
Now, when the place is natural, you have trees, you have the bush there, and you have the animals there. That's a natural ecosystem. Now, when we have vehicular activities, so the vehicles are releasing carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, plant itself have ability to absorb this so that they do not affect human beings. And the moment there is deforestation, you clear the bush, indirectly now see carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide is released into the atmosphere, nothing to absorb them. So definitely it will affect human being. That is one way by which deforestation can have effects on the environment and then the animals. And in the way when there is deforestation, you have actually displaced the natural habitat or ecosystem in such environments.
Biodiversity.
Now, the biodiversity, now we are talking of biodiversity, you're talking of the different species of plants and animals in a particular place. And the moment there is deforestation, definitely you have destroyed a particular species. And who knows, maybe in that environment, that is where you have only that species. The moment you destroy it, it may not be found any other place, and that brings an extinction, whether to the plants or the animals. So that is how deforestation can affect biodiversity. You lose some species of plants, you lose some species of animals.
You know, as humans, we tend to contribute to environmental degradation, most times unconsciously than consciously. So I tend to wonder, what are some of these unconscious activity we tend to do or not do that contributes to this environmental degradation?
Well, you can say they are not conscious because you have done them over times. Now you just do them, your mind is not there, but in a way you are still conscious you have done something. For example, now maybe I just finished taking biscuit and I have the wrap of the nylon in my hand. Ideally, I should not drop it on the floor or anywhere. But because I've been doing it over and over, unconsciously now, you drop this one. After drinking water, the plastics, you just throw it, it gets into the drainage. And those ones, there will be, once there is rainfall, you'll be wondering. So all those things, water is just bringing them. Before you know, you have a pile up. One from me, one from you, from different places. And then those are some of the unconscious activities, so to say, that may affect the environment. And not only that, you get to a place you want to build a house, you clear the bush. After building your house, there should be a way of replacing, if not all, at least some plants around your place to keep it a little bit natural. But unconsciously, you have just cleared the place and you build your house, your mind is off it, that you have destroyed something that is never replaced. Those are some of unconscious activities. Not only that, now in some remote areas, so they don't want to even bother go anywhere to go and drop their waste. Once they can just pack it up either at the backyard or in front of their house, they set fire on it, and then the thing is released into the environment, so causing a decrease in the quality of the air. They have been doing it over time. Now they are used to it. They don't see anything bad in it again. Those are some unconscious activities.
Now, it's interesting that Ezekiel again harped on that question, because in the course of researching, I discovered that environmental degradation, like I earlier mentioned, can be caused naturally, or it can be caused by humans. Then again, I discovered that one of the causes of humans to environmental degradation is poverty. Now, it got me wondering, now because you're talking about deforestation, we have pictures of the initial plan of Lagos, the initial plan of the marina, where there's supposed to be trees. They show us the initial plans, but today you can barely get trees, if not for recent efforts by government or the governors in the states for tree planting, which was started, I think, really by Babajide, before Babajide, so not Babajide.
Governor Ambode?
Before Ambode, the now minister, before Ambode,
Governor Fashola.
Fashola was the one who started tree planting again in Lagos State. He really did that when he came. Then Fashola, then Ambode did a little bit of it. I don't know about now. Now, all the trees were cut. So would we say that the initial plan was thrown away because those properties were sold out to make money by whoever government was there at that time? But I was surprised to find out that poverty, one of the effects of human contribution to environmental degradation is poverty.
Yeah.
So I would want you to help let the viewers understand how poverty contributes to environmental degradation.
Yeah, thank you. Ideally, somebody who is at least well-to-do, you wouldn't think, a person like me, I wouldn't think of going to the bush to go and cut trees because I can afford whether to buy gas or whatever means of cooking. But because of poverty, people now depend extensively in the depletion of natural resources. That is the plants. They cut it down. After some weeks, it's dry. They are bringing it home, so to be used as firewood. You can see in such a way. So that's poverty. So leading to deforestation, and then they never replace the plant. They just cut it, and then becomes firewood. Not only that, somebody is well-to-do where you have your wastes. So you package them, you put them somewhere, and then some maybe partner, some private sector, they come to pick it up, you evacuate, to give them money. Or somebody wonder, when I've not eaten this money, I will give 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira to somebody to come and pack my waste, when I can conveniently burn it at my backyard, or waiting for available opportunity for rain to fall and just throw it without paying a dime. So you can see that poverty, in one way or the indirectly, is contributing to environmental degradation.
Like when I did my research, I saw deforestation, which you mentioned, overgrazing. That is poverty as an effect. Then, of course, pollution, which you mentioned, the burning of waste, decreased crop yield. You talked about the land depreciation. Of course, burning or excessive burning can also lead to that because of lack of education. Then, of course, water shortages can actually lead. I want to find out how, because you talked about deforestation, you've not told us about overgrazing, you talked about pollution, decreased crop yield, but you've not told us how water shortages and overgrazing as a result of poverty could actually lead to environmental degradation. I would want you to actually expatiate on overgrazing and water shortages.
Yeah, thank you. When you talk of overgrazing, indirectly now, you know, when animals graze, so they eat up the grasses, and if you continually over and over the same piece of land, ideally, if they graze here, after some weeks, you go somewhere else. So, but if you are restricted to a particular maybe plot of land that this is the only one you can afford, definitely that is where your animals graze continually. And then with time, you just that hardly will any grass be able to even grow up there again. As they are coming up, animals eat them up. And since the animal eats them, but when the rain falls, normally plants and the plant roots have a way of retaining soil when water, there is runoff. Now there is no plant there again, the whole place is bare. So definitely there will be erosion, and that place, so another problem is created there. So poverty now, because you don't have opportunity of expanding, having a larger expanse of land where your animals can graze, and the small one you have, so because of overgrazing, the plants population is depleted, and then that is leading to another problem. Now you now have flooding in that place, and then you have erosion taking place. So that is one way by which poverty can result in
water shortages.
Then water shortages. Well, when you talk water shortages, that means water. Well, when water shortages definitely may not actually contribute to environmental degradation, because if there is water shortage, you go to there, you maybe assuming there is no maybe pipe-borne water or the borehole or the well water, you go to the nearby. The quantity of water you draw there doesn't actually affect the environment. So water shortage may not actually lead to environmental degradation. It is what you do with the water, maybe what you drop in the water, the way the water is treated, that may result in.
What about oil spills on marine life?
And yes, definitely, because that is what human activities now. That is human activities. You release that into the water. So that is not water shortage. You release so effluents. You release maybe this the waste, the effluent into the water. Then that affects the water.
So let's bring it down to Nigeria once again. How can we reduce plastic waste? How can we bring solutions to reducing plastic waste in Nigeria? Because it's more like the usual don't dump refuse here on billboard or on wall isn't working for us. How best do you think we could handle this particular menace?
Solving the challenges of plastic waste is multi-dimensional. The challenge was so much before, but by and by now, globally, so they are getting towards it. Before, the idea is, just ban plastics, nobody use nylon again, nobody use plastics. But we look at where we are coming from. We've been with plastic for over decades, so which has at least become part of our life. Hardly could you see any products that plastic will not be a part of the component. We now see, okay, it may not be possible to do away completely with plastics, but there are some categories of plastic that may not even be used at all, and the ones that can be used, what do we do? So the world is now conversing for circular economy, not just use and drop again, just linear. Before it's linear economy, you use, you drop, you burn, that is the end of it. But now, so after taking my water bottle, if it is what can be reused, we can use that thing for something instead of throwing it away.
That is recycling.
So that is recycling. That is reuse. Anyway, that is actually reuse. Because you use it and reuse it again. And definitely nowadays, when you see people selling granules, so you see them packaging their granules in the somebody drink water, drop the bottle, somebody else pick the bottle, wash it, clean it up, and then reuse it to package something else. After eating the granite, this person drop it again, somebody pick it up, wash and clean, then we reuse. Or we now recycle completely to use it to make a new product or a different product entirely. That is what the world is conversing for. And once we know that, then plastic will not become our problem again. But there are some particular plastic that will not even be allowed, especially those ones that contain some hazardous substances, that after use, it has to be destroyed, but in an environmentally sound manner.
Okay, so if you just joined us, it is obvious that you've missed the first part of our discourse. And Ezekiel just introduced the second part of our discourse, which is waste management, which we shall be talking about when we return after the break. So now you know. So we'll take a short break. When we return, we shall be going straight on to waste management. Stay with us. We're taking a look at environmental degradation. Our focus is on waste management in Nigeria, solutions. And our guest is still here. Now, the management of solid waste has become a global issue due to rapid increase in volume and types of solid and hazardous waste. We want to continue with the discourse that was introduced before the break. So I want to ask our guest, tell us about volume, the effect of volume, and of course the types of solid and hazardous waste, how it affects not just globally, but the problem it creates in Nigeria as a whole.
Thank you. When we talk of especially solid waste, when you talk of waste, so you can have liquid waste, you can have solid waste, and then you can have gaseous waste. But particularly, so we are talking about the solid waste. If solid waste, you can have the degradable, so the one that can decay. You can have biodegradable. Then you have metals, you have plastics, you have paper, you have different types of solid waste, and the rate depends on the activities at a particular point in time. When you get to a restaurant, you can expect the type of waste we find that definitely will be leftover food, mostly degradable. When you get to a motor park, or you get to an institutional area, you get to an office, you can actually expect what are the different types of waste that you expect at a particular point in time. But generally in Nigeria, there is there is increase in solid waste generation, but the management is difficult because of one thing, because we generate mixed waste at source. Even where a particular household just try to separate, you have the organic here, you have the paper, you have the nylon. When the people that comes to pick it, by the time they pick it, they merge it again, and then it goes to the dump site. And when you have a mixed waste, it's very difficult to manage. And then when we talk of the effect, so we'll come back to the the details of that. Now, looking at the effect of that now, just I've mentioned some of them before. So when the waste gets into the water, even on the soil, everywhere, it affects the aquatic life. Now, one of the global problem, even Nigeria and globally, is the marine litter. Most of this waste, they all end up in the marine environment, because once there is rainfall, whether it is plastic, whether it is paper, whether it's the nylon, everything so washed and then get to the marine environment, and it creates a problem for the aquatic environment.
That's interesting. So you talked about that, you differentiated solid, liquid. What about volume? What about volume? Because especially in Nigeria, we need to talk about the volume of waste we generate. Nigerians do not even know the quantum of it. We don't know the beginning, the middle, or the end. But that problem is there, and we do not see it. So we really want you to shed some light on volume for us.
Thank you. Well, it depends on the state, because you may not be able to say exactly how much we generate, but we can estimate. For example, recently, Lagos State just estimated, actually they carry out some survey that for solid waste, that daily they generate over 11,000 tons daily. 11,000 tons. You know what a ton is? A kilogram is 1,000. You have 1,000 grams. When you talk of a ton, that is 1,000 kilograms. You now have 11,000 tons. That means you have close to 11 million kilograms. If the kilogram is the unit that the audience can actually understand. So we talk of 11,000 daily, that is per day. You can now think of how much they generate in a week, how much they will generate in a month and a year. That is one state out of all the states in Nigeria. Now, if possible, if you assume it's the same for all the states, now multiply 11,000 by the number of states in Nigeria, you generate that per day, and then you think of what we generate per month and what we generate per year. The volume is very, very high. They also, from their survey again, out of this quantity that is generated, 11,000 tons per day, they are only able to recover about 48%, just about 5,000 tons. Recovery means you have the scavengers, they go to the dump site, and then they pick that. So that we subtract 5 from 11, that means about 6,000 tons is mismanaged and get into the environment. You can now imagine the problem and the danger that will constitute into the environment.
Well, my next question should probably be for the Go Start segment, but I guess I'm very, very money-oriented. So allow me ask, please. When it comes to waste, is there a way an individual could actually manage this waste, turn this waste and mess around him into a viable business where one can actually earn? Does it really work in places like Nigeria?
It's because people's eyes have not really opened into it. It's waste. It's actually, in fact, it's gold. It's a reason for whoever.
Waste is gold.
It's gold. In fact, there is no any kind of waste you can throw away except the one you know is actually hazardous. Any other type of waste is actually gold. In the course of my career, I've met with several set of people. Some people have sent their children abroad to school just on waste. So all they just do, in fact, not even all categories of waste, they just specialize on a particular waste. Sometimes you see some trailers or some trucks going, all they carry is just maybe metal scraps. And another time you will see a particular truck, all they carry is just plastic bottles, waste bottles. Another time you see another truck, all they just carry is just maybe the waste papers and all that. By the time that gets to the industry, it's a raw material for them. Some people specialize on that, and all they do from their house, whatever they generate, and they move around. Some people have some agents, these scavengers, they pull the wheelbarrow, push the wheelbarrow here and there, and they are just sourcing for a particular type of waste. People can actually make money from waste management. When you not talk of organic wastes, in fact, organic waste is another aspect on its own where you can make money. Now, globally, we are conversing against maybe synthetic fertilizers. The world wants organic farming, where you have organic fertilizer, and from the garbage and all the food, the remnant of food waste you have at home, you can have a particular site, a particular farm. All you are just doing is you are composting, and you may even have advanced machine that can help you to turn over and over, and then you come up with organic fertilizer. In fact, nowadays, people even think if you don't have a piece of land around you, you can turn your organic waste into fertilizer, get some sacks, and then mix with some soil, even the soil that is not fertile, so to say, mix it with your organic fertilizer, plant some things in bags. You can reap as much as somebody who has planted on the farm, on the field, having the same production. So there is big, waste management is really money for those whose eyes open to it, and then just pick a particular aspect. It may be plastics. Go around, pick plastic bottles, you have a volume of it, industries are waiting for you. Once they know you have enough for them, that once they come, they may even give you machine. I know a particular establishment, they started in a small way. When the companies know that anytime we go there, we get plastic waste, they give them a baling machines or crushing machine, and anytime they come, they meet loads of plastic bottles. Already crushed. And then they take it back to their company. So there is money in this. And then I know another establishment, all they do, all their paper waste in the establishment, they make sure it's not thrown away, they package it, and then the company will come, pick the waste papers. When they are coming with loads of tissue paper. And then it's something for for this establishment. They may sell, they may use. So that is how you can turn waste into wealth, either as individually or as
no, it's interesting because we're creating solutions. That is what this program is basically about, creating solutions for Nigeria. So the general belief is the Kole people. Now you let us understand that people have used recycling, waste to actually live a very, very good life. Since those on the streets have, they know the game, how would an educated person who is looking for another means, how can one go about it? Can you just throw, maybe, let us understand how an educated person who is looking for another means of livelihood can go into waste recycling and, of course, waste business.
Thank you. We only see the people at the downstream, the Kole people. The people who are actually controlling them are well-educated people. I was in a particular part of Lagos. When you get there, they have an association and they are well coordinated. You first go and see their chairman. The chairman, you'll be surprised. The person may even have mass, may even have MSc, may even be a PhD
waste,
holder.
Right?
Yes. May even be a PhD.
Waste business.
Yes, waste business.
Okay.
But most of the people, when you get to Ojota, they have a well coordinated. It's like a coordinated activity. You have somebody there upstream which is like well educated and get all this one you call Kole people. They are only picking to come and drop. He has a place like where a depot, where they come and depot, and then this other person, because he's well educated, is connected with other in the network. But some of these things are even exported abroad. I have some people like that when they collect this waste, some companies abroad are waiting, they export some of these valuable materials for the companies abroad. So somebody who is educated can you just get some people to work for you. Those who push are the lowest in the what do you call it now?
In the chain.
In the chain, are the lowest in the chain. Once they pick and then they bring it to you, you weigh, you give them their money, they go. And then you gather that way. Some people, you must also have some people, the chain may be that long, so may also from you too. Some people are coming to pick from you. Then if you have exporters from you, it gets to the exporters, then the exporters, or it gets to some companies. So those who are educated can actually go into, you may not go to the road and be picking, but you have people working for you, you pay them, and then you have a depot somewhere, and then you have a connection to the industry that the companies, and then you have.
So you've talked about collection. That is collection, because we have collection, transportation, treatment, disposable of solid waste. You've not spoken much about solid and hazardous waste. So what about transportation and treatment? Because of time, let us group that together. You told us about collecting. You've given us the tree. The Kole people are actually working for people. So transportation and treatment of waste.
Let me talk of the transportation. So just from what I've just said, the drug pushing is a form of transportation. They pick from the immediate environments where the waste are generated. Even these people picking, if you watch, because there was a time I tried to study them, they may even have one sack so that they put on their back and they are picking. You think from that sack, they already have a kind of wheelbarrow bigger somewhere. After picking into the sack, then they go there, they empty, they pour. So at the end of the day, in the evening time, you see them on the road, they are pushing. When they get to a particular place, a depot, in that place, you see a small truck that is packing everything. That's another collection system. So from there, the truck will carry it maybe to another bigger depot. And then from that depot now to the company, you will meet a particular trailer or truck, and then so from there to the industry or to the port, if it is to be exported.
Is it at the industry that it is treated? The treatment?
Now the treatment will now depend on the type of waste. Now, if it is plastics, as I've just said, so after collection, at the depot, they may have some machine that can crush, that will pre-treat, just get into a form. When it gets to the company, definitely the company knows before they can reuse that thing, there are ways. Is that they maybe wash. If it's plastic, they can wash, or there will be some maybe acid wash, whatever, acid bath, and some other forms. It depends on the type of waste. If it is metals, they know the way they treat it, so they may also use acid or some other chemicals to make sure they remove some contaminants they don't want. So the people at the lowest stream will not do any. They just, theirs is to pick and go and drop. Then from there, depends on whether it's going directly to the company or they are exporting. So the treatments. Yeah.
I think one of some of the major challenges facing waste management in Nigeria, and how best can we change the mindset of Nigerians towards waste disposal? The
major, it's not talking major problems.
Yes.
One of the major problems I've just mentioned, once what they do abroad, when you go outside the country, so if you see a waste bin or dustbin somewhere, you will not see a single one. You may see up to 3, and also already designated. This is for maybe 4. One is for plastic. Put paper here. For maybe the food remnants and all this one will be here. And since it's already separated, vehicles coming as well, they will not merge it. Then plastic will go to other plastic industries, a particular place.
Directly.
Paper directly. Paper will go there. In that way, they are able to manage the waste
and
control sustainably. But here, because generation of mixed waste is a culture that is already in everybody, even in every home, just whatever, we just put everything together. And when all the waste are mixed together, it's difficult for us to be able to recycle until they are separated. All the scavengers can just do to get to dump site and pick the one they can pick, and a lot will not be picked. Eventually they set fire on it. So generation of mixed waste is a major problem. Once we can overcome that in Nigeria, in fact, it's real business for the country itself, because it's like you are turning the waste in the country into another means of finance in the country.
What about hazardous waste,
now,
which is a core problem for us?
Now, the hazardous waste is beyond individuals' management. Now there are global move. So on how to tackle hazardous waste. What is done is, okay, what are the products that contain hazardous waste? For example, by and by you may just discover that in those days, 10 years ago, the type of television and then the computer monitors you have are those one, the cathode ray tube that look like, you know, the way the shape is.
Yes.
Now, about that 10 years ago, so the world wake up and say, these plastics, the plastic components, because in order to prevent accidental fire, that plastics contain hazardous substance. They call it brominated flame retardants, which cause cancer and some other health challenges. So, and because of that, then they look for a way of how do we curb this? So that plastic is not what you take to company and then they recycle. Otherwise, we continue to recycle hazardous substances. So some plastic products are already marked to be hazardous. And if you have them, even in Nigeria, we now have some organization like maybe Extended Producer Responsibility Organizations of Nigeria, that if you have hazardous waste, they can take it up from you. From there, they know how to treat it. If it cannot be treated in Nigeria, there are connections with some organizations abroad who destroy it in environmentally sound manner. I will mention some of that. So, for example, when there are so many, some people have mobile phones that are no longer used in their house. Not because they want to use it again, but consciously they know this thing should not just be dropped in the dustbin, because they know it contains some hazardous substances. And some who don't have the knowledge, so they just drop everything in the dustbin. In fact, if you burn, it makes it so serious that can affect almost the whole community in that environment. So anything that electronic products in particular, any waste generated from electronic products, they are counted to be hazardous, and they need to be disposed in environmentally sound manner, whether it is mobile phone, whether it is television, whether it's the remote, anything electronics. So the plastic, even the whole, not only plastic. Some people just remove the battery and then you throw it down. The battery contains some elements that are hazardous to human health. So such waste that are electronic, they have to be disposed in an environmentally sound manner.
So you're telling Nigerians now to be very careful, because a lot of people do not have this education, and that is the awareness that we're trying to create. So when you have electronics in the house, we shouldn't burn them.
At all.
We shouldn't burn them out. So where can people take this hazardous materials to in Nigeria, like in Ondo or in Lagos? Where can people take it? Are there phone lines? Are there awareness? Is the government creating awareness for this? Do we have enough awareness about issues like this?
Thank you. Actually, in Lagos, there are 2 companies already established that deal with hazardous, especially electronic equipment. In fact, some companies, banks, these mobile phones, so the POS. So once the equipment have come to end of life, they just call them. They may come and pick, or if it is voluminous enough, the companies, they export there. Then these people, so they have some agents here and there that get maybe directly to maybe houses and streets. We don't have it all over the nation, all over the country, but we may use this opportunity to appeal to maybe Ondo State Waste Management Authority, if possible, to have a center for collection of hazardous waste. So that I know that, okay, I have my mobile phone, I don't use it again, there is a particular place. Once the Ondo State has collected that, then there are specialized companies who can destroy them in environmentally sound manner, and if they don't have the capacity to do in Nigeria, those companies, they have connection abroad. Not only that, there is a center in the University of Ibadan now, we call it the Basel Convention Coordinating Center for Africa. They just developed a kind of network, it's a website that you are just looking for who and who is in this, especially for plastics now, who and who is in charge. You can get mobile phone, you can get email, just get on your app, just click, just Google this, you know, you will get somebody closer to you, whether in those states, who is in that area that you can call, I have this, I have this. So they are already developing that, and very soon that will be launched in Nigeria. It's not only for Ibadan, it's for the whole of Nigeria. I know from that, then we get into electronic waste and other types of waste that once you can just use a particular app on your phone. So I have this waste, somebody can just come and pick it up, or when you are going out, you can drop it in some place. We are getting there. But I will appeal, just Lagos has gone far in doing that, especially getting some companies established to do that. But in other states, I will appeal to Ondo State as well, maybe the Ministry of Environment or Environmental Protection Agency, so to come up with a scheme or a structure that way that they have a particular collection center for hazardous, especially electronic waste.
I want to tell us a little about health implication of poor waste management.
Now let me add to what Ezekiel said, please. Remember, there was one morning we woke up in Lagos and everywhere we couldn't breathe. The air was polluted for days, and nobody up till today, it has happened like twice in my stay in Lagos. When I was in Lagos, the entire air was polluted. It was misty, smoky, and nobody could actually tell us up till today what caused that. But those of us who are aware, was breathing in that air, knew that something happened and there will be consequences. So it's just the same question that Ezekiel has asked. What are the health consequences of this to us?
Thank you.
If not taken care of, if nothing is done about it, if the education is not sent out.
Thank you. I have a boss. Anytime he's making presentation, we tell that when somebody has an illness, especially that they will not diagnose in the hospital, they firstly think maybe it's a witch, it's a this. They wouldn't know that they actually caused it or somebody around them has caused it. When they are especially burning of nylons, the plastics, whether the nylon, the plastic bags or any form of plastic, when you burn them, they become more hazardous than the way they are. There are some chemical substances, we call them the dioxins and furans. They cause cancer. So when you get to dump sites and then they are burning around the dump sites and you are inhaling that, even for staying there for a few minutes, the little you have inhaled has a long way. In fact, can destroy so many different organs of the body. So the generation of cancer or the development of cancer is one of prominent hazardous effects of indiscriminate disposal of waste or burning or pollution. So when people have some abnormal swell, they may be thinking maybe somebody has maybe it's occultic, whatever it is. They wouldn't know that it's just an exposure to some toxic substances. They can just develop all kinds of whether respiratory problems, just like you have said. When there is burning, sometimes in the night, those who don't want people to know that they are burning hazardous substances, in the evening when you pass some places, you begin to have a kind of choking smell. By the time you look closely, it's just that somebody is burning something somewhere. Some companies also do that. They may not want to burn during the day, they burn in the night. And when you burn, when there are particulates in the air, definitely there'll be something like formation of fog that will reduce visibility. That is what you see, like you said, maybe in Lagos. So when there is the air is polluted, you have particulate matter, you have some other chemical substances, you could have something like a fog, something like a very fine cloud that even when you are breathing, it's like there is difficulty in breathing. It's as a result of air pollution. So in the immediate environment, even somebody who is burning himself, you are burning waste at the backyard, you are not doing yourself good. By the time as you are burning, you are also perceiving that you are smelling something. That thing you are smelling, you may not have immediately. There is what we call acute toxicity, and then there is chronic toxicity. There is one you are exposed to immediately, you may even faint, they quickly carry you. That is the acute, they know it's the effect. But there are some, it's just killing you gradually, and such they may even be difficult to cure eventually. Those are the ones that may result to the cancer of this and the cancer of that, and then you begin to think maybe somebody is doing me, or somebody is maybe it's occultic somebody somewhere. It's just because of the way we manage environment.
We don't have time again, but I just want what's the best way to dispose of our immediate waste? What's the best way? If burning is not the best way, if throwing into the gutters is not the best way, apart from the kole people who come, who even one of the reasons why we have waste problems, because sometimes they too dump in the gutters when people are not watching at night. So what is the best for me and Ezekiel? What's the best way for us to dispose of our waste? The
best way to dispose of our waste is if it is organic wastes and you happen to have a piece of land behind your backyard, just drop your organic waste there. It will decay and replenish the land fertility. If it's not organic waste, if it is paper, if it is nylon, definitely there should be a designated dump site somewhere. Actually, government has a role to play in this, to have a controlled dump site that waste are coming in and the environment, the place is controlled. Not only that, there should be a network. It's beyond an individual. Definitely when you are generating your waste, there should be a particular place where you carry your waste and go and drop. And everybody knows that's a designated place. It will now become the responsibility of the government to either to lift or to manage that place if it is controlled. But the best is not to dump waste around you or into the waterways. Accumulate the waste and then package it and get to the nearest designated site and drop it there for the government to pick up or to manage the waste.
Yes, we want to thank our guests so much, because that's all time will allow on the show today. But I promise that we're going to have him again as we talk more on the environment and, of course, waste management.
So see you tomorrow at the same time. Tomorrow morning, I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
I am Anire. Binitie. Stay safe, stay clean. Bye for now.
Yes, there is news on your device, but hearing an analyst's perspective is the icing on the cake that Daybreak Africa provides. Break. I mean, Start your day with prompt analysis of the latest news, trends,
Exactly, and then you see these people, they're so agile, they can do a lot of
politics,
We have to go back to that regional system. That is the foundation of this country, for God's sake.
entertainment, fashion, culinary skills,
So first I'm going to be pouring the oil inside the pot and I will...
religious and cultural events amongst others on Daybreak Africa.
For a rich mix of analysis on current issues, tune in daily from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on channel 480 and 124 on Startimes.